Steelers Nation, what's up? Before we dive into today's big story, let me say this loud and clear. This team is working every single day to get better, sharper, tougher, and more prepared to bring great results for this fan base. And since we're here putting in the work together, make sure you drop a like right now. It helps a ton. And if you're new, stick around because today's news is huge. All right, Steelers family, let's talk about it. There was a lot of noise, a lot of speculation, and honestly, a lot of concern coming out of Week 11. That moment when Aaron Rodgers walked off the field against the Bengals, the entire stadium got quiet. Everyone watching at home stopped breathing for a second. A 34-12 win should have felt like a celebration, but seeing Rodgers sidelined with that fractured left wrist instantly shifted the mood. Fast forward to Thursday, and what does Rodgers do? He shows up to practice. Yes, with a fractured wrist. Yes, knowing Week 12 is just around the corner. Yes, knowing the Bears, a team he knows better than any other franchise, are waiting at Soldier Field. Rodgers didn't just talk about wanting to be on the field. He made good on his word. And that alone tells us something about his mindset. This man wants to play bad. But wanting and being able are two different things. And Mike Tomlin made that very clear. According to Coach T, Rodgers' availability comes down to stability, protection, and how functional that wrist really is under game conditions. In other words, can Rodgers grip? Can he throw? Can he protect himself from further injury? Because Pittsburgh is in a fight, a real AFC North dogfight. At 6-4, with a slim division lead, every game matters. Every decision matters, and one wrong move with a fractured wrist could derail the season. So the real question becomes, is Week 12 worth the risk? And here's where things get really interesting. If Rodgers soups up this Sunday, it would mark his 30th career matchup against the Chicago Bears. 24 wins, 5 losses, 64 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's not a rivalry, that's domination. The Bears practically wore the property of Aaron Rodgers label for 2 decades. But this time, it's a little different. This isn't Green Bay Rodgers with a full season behind him. This isn't a clean bill of health. This is Rodgers with a fractured wrist on a new team in a new offense against a surging Chicago squad leading the NFC North at 7-3. So what happens if Rodgers can't go? Enter Mason Rudolph, once again stepping out of the shadows with a calm, cool, confident performance. Against Cincinnati, Rudolph completed 75% of his passes, threw for 127 yards, and delivered a touchdown to help close out the win. He didn't look overwhelmed. He didn't look rusty. He looked ready. And that's exactly what former Steelers legend Ben Roethlisberger emphasized on his footballing podcast. Big Ben knows Rudolph better than anyone inside that locker room. He saw him drafted, saw him develop, saw him step in during tough situations, and what did Roethlisberger say? You feel comfortable. That phrase matters. A veteran QB doesn't say that lightly. Roethlisberger explained that Rudolph's experience, being in Pittsburgh's system for years, getting all those reps during OTAs, minicamps, and training camp while Rodgers wasn't in the building, has its advantages. The Steelers don't need to overhaul the playbook. They don't need to strip down the offense. They don't need to baby step anything. Rudolph knows the system. The players know Rudolph. The coaches trust him. Add in the fact that the Steelers brought him back this offseason on a 2-year deal worth up to $8 million, and that tells you everything about what this organization believes he can do. And honestly, his career in Pittsburgh has always been full of moments like these, unexpected opportunities where he steps in and steadies the ship. He did that last year with Tennessee, too. He has always been that break glass in case of emergency quarterback who never panics, never tries to be a hero, and always gives the team a chance to win. But let's be real. Playing the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, potentially in cold weather, with their defense dialed in, is no small task. Chicago knows Rodgers. They've studied him for years. If it's Rudolph out there, the Bears will shift their entire defensive approach. Still, if you're a Steelers fan, are you confident? Because the Steelers coaching staff clearly is. And the vibe in the building this week has not been panic. There's no scrambling, no desperation, no chaos. The offense is steady. The locker room is calm. The players trust that whoever lines up under center, Rodgers or Rudolph, can lead this team effectively. Let's think about this. If Rodgers plays, the Steelers get an elite quarterback with nearly 2 decades of bullying the Bears. If Rudolph plays, the Steelers get a calm, prepared, battle-tested QB who just led them to a convincing second-half win. This isn't a bad situation. This is a team with real depth and real confidence. But make no mistake, everyone is watching that wrist. Everyone wants to know if Rodgers will be ready. And every hour that passes keeps fans on edge. Because Week 12 isn't just another game. It's a chance to strengthen the AFC North lead. It's a chance to keep momentum rolling. It's a chance to survive a tough road environment with or without your superstar quarterback. And here's what's so fascinating. The Steelers aren't treating this like a crisis. They're treating it like a challenge. And challenges? This team thrives on them. His availability for Week 12 is still uncertain, and that alone has the entire fan base watching every report like it's breaking news. But while Rodgers' injury is stealing the headlines, there's another storyline developing quietly behind the scenes that deserves just as much attention. 2 new names recently entered the building, wide receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling and cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. Both had been free agents, both were looking for the right landing spot, and Steelers general manager Omar Khan swooped in to bring them to Pittsburgh. But here's the twist. The Steelers didn't sign them to the active roster. Instead, both are currently on the practice squad. And practice squad players, as Steelers fans know, are technically free to be signed by any other team at any time, unless the Steelers protect them. That means Valdes-Scantling and Samuel technically could leave tomorrow if another team calls. But that would require the players agreeing to leave. So the question is, are they close to being elevated? Are they getting ready to debut? Should fans expect them in uniform soon? Well, we got a new update this week, and it wasn't exactly the one people were hoping for. Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette held his weekly Steelers fan chat, and of course, fans wasted no time asking about the new additions. One fan asked if Marquez Valdes-Scantling or Asante Samuel Jr. might be elevated for Week 12 against the Chicago Bears. Dulac's response? Just one word. Nope. Another fan asked specifically about Valdes-Scantling. Maybe he could travel to Chicago. Maybe he could suit up. Dulac didn't sugarcoat anything. He replied with an even shorter answer. No. And just like that, Steelers Nation got a reality check.
As exciting as it is to add 2 recognizable veterans, a speed threat at receiver and a young, hungry cornerback, the Steelers don't seem ready to move things forward just yet. Even though the Steelers need help on offense creating separation and desperately need consistency in the secondary, neither newcomer is expected to dress anytime soon. And honestly, when you think about it, the explanation makes sense. Let's break it down. 1. Conditioning and readiness. These guys weren't on rosters for a reason. They weren't in someone's system running full-speed reps every day. Both need time to get into game shape, adjust to the Steelers' schemes, and show coaches they can be trusted with snaps on Sundays. 2. Asante Samuel Jr.'s injury recovery. This one is important. Samuel is still working his way back from off-season back surgery. Even when he does get activated, and he will, the Steelers aren't expected to just throw him into heavy snap counts. Pittsburgh wants him healthy for the stretch run, not rushed onto the field in Week 12. 3. Valdes-Scantling might be closer, but not quite there. Of the 2, MVS seems more likely to get elevated first. He feels an immediate need, a true deep threat wide receiver, something this offense desperately needs, especially with Rodgers' injury now hanging over the team. Adding speed and reliability at receiver becomes even more important. But again, Dulac's no wasn't hesitant. It was definitive. Meaning, he's not ready. Not this week. Maybe not next week either. 4. Pittsburgh is not panicking. The Steelers are 6-4. Playoffs are right there. A shot at the AFC North title? Still very much on the table. There's no desperation inside the building. None. This isn't a situation where coaches are banging on Omar Khan's desk begging for emergency promotions. It's the opposite. This is a team that's being patient, methodical, and disciplined. They know rushing new players rarely ends well. And these two players were brought here to help down the stretch, not just in Week 12. But Steelers fans still want to know something important. Who is needed more right now? MVS or Asante Samuel Jr.? That's the million-dollar question. If you look at the offense, Pittsburgh absolutely could use another wide receiver who can separate, stretch the field, and give opposing defenses something to fear. The offense has struggled at times to push the ball vertically, and with Rodgers' injury now hanging over the team, adding speed and reliability at WR becomes even more important. If you look at the defense, the secondary has been up and down. Some weeks they look sharp, disciplined, and physical. Other weeks, big plays, missed assignments, inconsistent coverage. Asante Samuel Jr., when fully healthy, could absolutely stabilize the cornerback room. But again, he's not ready yet. So realistically, both are needed. Both will eventually contribute, but both require time. And this is where Steelers Nation needs to take a breath. Yes, the team needs help. Yes, these signings made noise. But no, you're not going to see Valdez-Scantling catching bombs or Samuel locking down receivers this Sunday. The Steelers will promote them when the moment is right, when they're fully conditioned, fully healthy, and fully integrated into the playbook. And with the holidays approaching and the playoff race heating up, that moment is coming sooner than later. But it's not Week 12. All right, Steelers family, I want to wrap this up by asking you the big question. How confident would you feel going into Week 12 with Mason Rudolph as the starter? Do you trust his experience? Do you think he can keep Pittsburgh competitive at Soldier Field? Or should the team push for Rodgers to play as long as he's healthy enough to protect himself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from every single one of you. And before you go, make sure to drop a like. It helps the channel a lot. And hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any breaking updates on the Steelers quarterback situation. Steelers Nation, I'll see you in the next one. Here we go.